So in 2013, when I co-founded BootUp together with my co-founder Mukul Agrawal, we set out to change the world. We've been, we did both fairly well in our lives, and we don't necessarily have to work anymore. So our kind of focus is to give back, and we wanted to create an ecosystem for entrepreneurs and corporates to work well hand in hand together to create better outcomes and change the world. We have 3 lines of business now that are harmoniously working together. One is we have a co-working and event space business where all the entrepreneurs can live, and it's truly a community of multiple serial entrepreneurs, and then infused with first-time entrepreneurs. The second business is we do a lot of corporate strategy innovation and innovation development. So I have 400 developers worldwide that basically help the startups integrate with the corporates all the way from strategy to the hardcore core business implementations. And then the third business is an education acceleration business. So we're connected to over 50 co-working spaces globally where we seed and get fantastic startups that eventually want to hit the valley. And those companies then eventually hit the valley in any shape, form, or fashion. And then from there on, some of them we pick out of the funnel, and we help them customized in a customized ways to accelerate. We often talk about, when we work with startups, that we want to invest in the jockey, which is the leadership team, the horse, which is the product or the service, and the race. And all 3 need to be very well connected to each other. You can have a wonderful product, so a good horse, but if you have a horrible jockey, it's not going to fly, even if the race is a good race to be in. So often when we talk about startups, whether they're startups or scale-ups, the horse, the jockey, and the race are increasingly important. The Dutch entrepreneurs that I see today are still very Dutch, and what I mean with that is that they have good English skills, they have fairly good business development skills, they have fairly reasonable business skills. The biggest skills that they often lack are twofold. One, they talk too much about the technology and the inner workings of what it is that they do instead of talking to the heart and talking about how you should connect with the product or the service that they sell. And that's the first kind of thing that I see over and over again with Dutch entrepreneurs. The second thing is that a lot of Dutch entrepreneurs are not skilled in marketing. They are not equipped to really market towards the audience here in the United States. It's a different way of marketing, it's a different way on how you go to market, and it's a different way of talking towards the market itself. A lot of times we see a lot of the Dutch entrepreneurs thinking too small. So they have a good product, it sells well in Europe or sells well in Holland, but it doesn't sell well in the United States because the sales pitch needs to be different. The cohesion of the starting team. So you really look at the leadership qualities and the leadership skills and the mindset of that leadership team when you have an early startup, because we know that the product most likely will pivot, that the business model might pivot, that the startup pitch might pivot, but ideally you don't want the team to pivot, right? You don't want to lose a lot of those leadership. So when it's an early startup, you really look at, can I complement the existing startup team with additional resources to make them stronger? That's one. B, is the leadership within that team strong enough to go through the next 5 years of hot weather? And there's a lot of psychology behind it. It's not actually rocket science, but there is some psychology behind it. And we sometimes, even before we invest, do psychology tests, and we figure out, hey, these are really the guys that we want to work with. Thirdly, as I said, it's always about the jockey, the horse, and the race. So the product needs to be good, and it needs to be in the market where we see a lot of upside opportunity, where there's perhaps not that much competition yet, or they have a unique selling point or a unique selling proposition. The first thing is identify the market and know if there is a market for you, right? If there's no market, why would you come here? That's the first thing. Secondly, to enter into the market, the cost of acquisition of customers or other type of technologies is higher than in Europe. It's just more costly to have people here, to have real estate here, to have operational people here to run the business or to support the business. And so unless you have 500,000 to $1 million already in revenue in Europe, it's highly unlikely that you should come to the United States. What I noticed lately in Holland is, especially with the new generation, they're kind of lazy. And in America, although you might not see it, but the work ethic is incredible. People work around the clock, even if they're not in the office, they're working. And so running a startup is a 24/7, 365 a year type of job. And so the big difference I see between Dutch entrepreneurs and American entrepreneurs is, and American entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley is everybody from the globe, by the way. So I want to state that for the record. Most entrepreneurs here, even in this building, are 50% from different countries. But the ones that are living here and working here on their startup, they work nonstop.